Hi, how are we doing today? Today I'm going to talk to you about luxury items that I think you can get a similar look for less. Hello, and the warmest of welcomes to today's video. For those of you who haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Nick, glad to have you here. Those of you who have seen my face before, thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you're enjoying my videos. I put out videos roughly 3 times a week on a range of different topics, anywhere from fashion, some slightly more personal topics, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then please do head down, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. I love chatting with you all. I'm all about living life loud, and what that means to me is being your authentic self, being proud to be you, and just celebrating who you are. Celebrating yourself and celebrating others. So, what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to talk to you about luxury items that I think you can get a similar look for less. And what I am trying to avoid in this is straight up dupes of particular items. I think something that maybe has a similar look, a similar functionality, that is a lesser price point than the original item that I'm speaking about. I don't know which one came first out of these various items, but if you do know, great, please let me know in the comments. The main thing with this is that all of the items that I'm sharing with you as alternatives are less than £1,000. So the item, it stands to reason that the original item is more than £1,000. And of course, equate that into whichever currency it would be that you would be shopping in, to make that comparison. So let's talk about it. I'm not going to spend too long on each item. I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview and see what you think. So I've got my fancy list here, because I was doing some research whilst I was away for you. Look at that, always thinking of you guys. So, let's get into the first one. And the first item, and this is an item that I really do love actually, the Louboutin Tote, which is around £1,150. Love the fact that it has the red sole. It's got a little bit of fun, a little bit of edge to it with the spikes and the red. There are a couple of options that I think you have here as a replacement. I think you could go for the MCM Reversible Liz Shopper in the large size, which is about £650. MCM still has that edge to it. It's got a little bit of funk to it. It's not as popular as some of the other totes that you might see. So I think it just adds something slightly different, and it's a bit more, it can be a little bit more casual. You're just looking for something that's super practical that you can use day in, day out. I think this could be a great option. Alternatively, we can also go to Longchamp, and you could look at the Longchamp Rousseau Essential Ray, which is about £380, I think, for the large size. They do it in a smaller size as well. I think there's a large and an extra large, something like that. But this is beautiful, it's fun, it's delicate, it's a lovely shopper. Just something a little bit different at a very different price point. You're taking over £700 away in order to be able to buy that. So that's a lot of money. You can do a lot with that. So there are a couple of alternatives there for you. Next up, one that I've spoken about recently that you wouldn't see in my wardrobe, and this is the Dior Book Tote. The Dior Book Tote is beautiful. They bring it out in beautiful prints and beautiful colours and beautiful styles. The fact that there's a range of different sizes as well adds an element of versatility now to the range as a whole, which also shows that they're sticking with it because they're adding in new pieces, which is great because Dior sometimes do discontinue quite popular items. I'm talking about the large size, which goes anywhere from about 2,400 upwards, I think, dependent on the material. Alternatives. The YSL Rive Gauche for around £880. A really nice alternative. YSL, I think, is a comparable brand to Dior as well, so I don't think you would feel like you were going for a lesser brand status in order to buy from YSL. It fulfills all the same functions of shopper, travel bag, book bag, whatever you need it to be. I think it can be all of those things. Alternatively, if you were comfortable with going for something that came from a brand that didn't have quite the same kudos, but had a very similar functionality, I would suggest the Karl Lagerfeld K-Square Tote, which goes anywhere from £235 to £265, dependent on the materials in which you buy it. This, I think, is still really beautiful. They bring it in some really fun variants. They tend to do seasonal versions of this. Still super practical, fulfills all of the functions we spoke about with the other 2 bags, but the price point, you could buy essentially 10 of these for the price of 1 book tote. Now, of course, for some people, that 1 book tote would be worth 10 of these Lagerfeld bags, but if you're just looking for something from a functionality perspective that still looks really nice and comes from a designer brand, then the Karl Lagerfeld could be a really good option for you. Next up, and an item that I think is really, really lovely. I've spoken about this before, but in a larger size as being one that I have my eye on. I just don't have the budget for it at the moment. But this is the Celine Luggage, and I'm talking about it in the nano size, which I believe is the smallest. Beautiful, understated. Celine Nano or Celine Luggage was a very popular bag probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's still one that has a place, absolutely. I don't think there's such a thing as being out of style. I think it depends on how you rock it and how you feel wearing it. But the alternative that I had for this is the Burberry Mini Two-Tone Freya Tote, £890. Similar size, maybe a bit smaller, but still probably has enough capacity for everything that you need. I think it's nice that it's in the two-tone, it's got a mixture of materials. Burberry's still a really nice heritage brand. It still has that face as well. People say about the Celine bags having a face. The Burberry also has a little face on it if you look at it. Another option that was out of the price point but would be a good alternative, I think, would be the Louboutin Paloma, but that's out of this particular price point, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Next up, we have one that has really been quite divisive and divided opinion, and I'm talking about the Bottega pouch, which is around £2,400, £2,500. Dependent on which variant you go for, of course. Now, I really do quite like this. I think it's an oversized clutch is a really nice look. I think there's a slouchiness to it, but it could still be worn in a very formal setting, so you have versatility to it. Would I have an interest in the pouch on chain? Not so much. But this one I think is really nice. Now, that price point. I know Bottega do beautiful leather and the woven leather. I cannot remember the name of it. I can picture the word, I just cannot remember. It's beautiful, but that price point, that's a lot for a clutch. However, there are a couple of different variants that you could go for from other brands. And we are talking about the Bernadetta Braziche Venus Mesh Clutch. I'm really sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly. Please do correct me if I got that wrong. This is about £730. It's a very similar shape to the Bottega. Love the fact that this is just uber glamorous. It is glitzy, it is glamorous, but I still think you could wear this with a t-shirt and jeans and just throw this off with it. You know, it would be similar to something like the Prada nylon in the crystal. I think it still has a place in the daytime as much as it does in the nighttime. It all comes down to how you style it. And this, I think, would be very much so. Very practical as a clutch goes. My only reservation with this would be, is that mesh going to be uncomfortable on your skin? So if you're wearing something that is sleeveless, for example, and you had that under your arm, would that potentially irritate the skin under your arm? That would be my only concern with that. But if you just hold it by the hand and you're happy to do so, then that could be a really lovely option. Alternatively, we could also go to Jimmy Choo, and this, funnily enough, is also called the Venus Clutch. So the Jimmy Choo Venus Clutch, and it is £850. This is very beautiful, very simple, very elegant. This will be a beautiful black tie piece. I like this very, very much. Reasonable price point. Jimmy Choo bags, I don't think get quite the credit that they deserve because they are really, really stunning. But Jimmy Choo has been slightly shoehorned, forgive the pun, into this shoe category, and that's all that they're really recognised for. Actually, they do so much more than that, so I think them getting a little bit more recognition for their broader portfolio is never going to be a bad thing. Next up, we have the YSL Sac de Jour. Now, I know some people say that the YSL Sac de Jour is a good alternative to a Birkin, but I'm doing the alternatives to the Sac de Jour because we need to sit below that £1,000. And we've got two Aspinal bags, and we also have a bag from Marc Jacobs. So, the first Aspinal bag is the Aspinal London Mayfair bag, which is about £650. It's a bit more of a box style bag with a beautiful top handle, but I think why I've got this in as a bit of an alternative is because of the structure. The YSL Sac de Jour is a pretty structured bag, so I think anything that's an alternative to it needs to have that same structure, top handle with a shoulder strap. That's absolutely what this Mayfair bag offers. Alternatively, another Aspinal of London bag would be the frame bag. This is beautiful. If it weren't for the price point, £895. I would absolutely buy one of these and I would rock it and I would love it. Now, do I think the price point is bad for what it is? Absolutely I don't. It's just a lot of money for something I know I wouldn't use very often. But again, it has that structure, it has that formality, but you could still use it in the daytime if you wanted. They bring it out in a range of different colours, a range of different sizes. So you're probably saving about £600 versus the Sac de Jour for the frame bag, dependent on the size of course. But there is still a saving there to be had, but the frame is definitely getting closer to that £1,000 limit that we've set ourselves. Alternatively, one that has gained a lot of popularity in recent months is the Marc Jacobs The Leather Tote Bag, or the Tote Bag, but I'm specifically talking about it in the leather. This is around £385 plus, depending on the size you go for, the variant that you go for. I think this offers a very similar look to the Sac de Jour without being a dupe in any capacity. It's clearly a bag in its own right, it's got different design features, but I do think it has a similar feel to it when you look at it. What is different about this is that the branding is just that bit bolder. So if you're looking for something super understated, this probably wouldn't be for you because it does have the large Marc Jacobs, the tote bag across it. But it's a beautiful bag nonetheless at a really reasonable price point. And like I said, it's become very, very popular. There are a lot of individuals buying this, rocking this. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Love the range that they've brought out. Beautiful. Now, we knew there had to be some Chanel in here, but I'm not going to talk about an alternative to a classic flapper boy or anything along those lines. I'm talking about the Chanel belt bag here. And when I was looking online, these were ranging anywhere from $1,400 to $2,000, maybe a little bit more than $2,000, which is a lot of money. But considering the fact that a Chanel bag tends to be more than that, and a Chanel belt quite often is more than that, it didn't feel too unreasonable, particularly the one that was about £1,400. I actually could stomach that. Not for me personally, but I can completely get that price point. So I thought that was okay. However, there are alternatives to this. One that is a very direct alternative in its look is the Ysl Lu Belt Bag. And why I say it's a very direct alternative is because it still has the beautiful leather bag on it with the intricate chain. So it offers very similar features and function to the Chanel. Like I said at the start, I don't know which of these came first. I know that belt bags have been making a comeback, so they were probably released at a very similar time, but I do think that they are nice alternatives to one another, with one being over £1,000 and the Lu being $755. And I think it comes in two different colours, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's a really nice alternative to the Chanel. Alternatively, if you wanted a designer belt bag that had a bit of a logo on it, but didn't have quite the same intricacy, but was a much, much lower price point, Zadig & Voltaire ZV Initial. That is a bag that is on for £280, and it is a logoed belt bag. And Zadig & Voltaire is not an item that it's not a brand that I hear discussed all that much. I've been into their store at Bicester a couple of times. I've never been into a main store. I've been into their outlet. I think it's really great fun. It's bold, it's vibrant, it's impactful. A really nice brand I would like to see more of. Maybe I need to buy some of it myself. But I do like it very, very much. This is a great alternative for a belt bag if you want something that has a bit of a logo on it, but at a price point that feels a little bit more manageable than maybe Chanel or even YSL. But to be fair, I think the $755 for the YSL is pretty good. I think all of those are pretty good, actually, for the brands that they've come from. Okay, a travel essential that many individuals have, and this is the LV Keepall. Now, the Keepalls have been increased pretty much every price increase, and of course you can buy them in different materials. You can buy them in damier abine, damier graphite. You can buy them in monogram. There's leather versions. They are often brought out in the limited edition collections as well. So there's lots of variations with the Keepall. You can buy them in a 45 up to a 60. Lots of different options. Fill your boots, whatever you fancy. But there are two alternatives that I think work really well against the Keepall, and they are both from Mulberry. The first one is also a monogrammed piece, and it's a monogrammed large weekender, and we are talking about the Mulberry zipped weekender. You can buy this in a range of different colours. The one that I particularly gravitated towards was this bright, bold green monogram with some of the multicolour running through it. I think this is absolutely beautiful. They do the same print in some of the other bags. They've done it in a Bayswater, for example. I think this is so much fun. It is so impactful, and it is something slightly different to the Louis Vuitton monogram as a travel essential, but it will fulfill all of the same functions. And Mulberry is a beautiful brand, so I think that would look just as impactful sat upon your suitcase as you roll through departures off to your glamorous location versus the Louis Vuitton. I think both are great, but I think for the price point of £995, we've just snuck in under that £1,000. But for £995 versus £1,750, I think the Mulberry is a really good option. Alternatively, if you want something a little bit more understated, maybe consider the Mulberry Clipper. This is just a little bit more understated. It's about £750. I think this would potentially not show wear and tear in quite the same way as well because of the materials that they've used. So that's an option there. Alternatively, you could also, if you wanted to drop a further price point, consider some of the Longchamp Boxford pieces, but it all depends on what your personal style is, whether you want travel bags that are logoed or whether you want something that's a little bit more subtle. Completely your call, right or wrong, I'm not here to say, but I think all of these are really good options. Now, one that I've mentioned that I didn't know if it was discontinued or not, and I'm talking about the Hermes Garden Party. I was able to find these for circa £2,000 on the pre-loved market, and I think there are two really good alternatives from other brands, and I'm talking about the Aspinal of London, London Tote, because it's still a beautiful top handle, comes in a range of different sizes, but the largest size is £650. You can buy it in different materials. Some of them come in canvas, some of them come in full leather. So there's lots of different options available for you. I just think this is a beautiful item. They've done them in some beautiful colours. The tea rose was stunning. Why didn't I buy it when it was half price? We will never know. Silly Nick. Oh well, life goes on. And the other bag that I think is a great, great alternative, I think it has a very similar look, is the Longchamp Rousseau. Now, it was funny, I've loved the Garden Party for many, many years, probably about 10 years if it's been out that long. I've loved it. And when I bought my Longchamp Rousseau, it didn't even cross my mind that it looked like an Hermes Garden Party. And I think it was when I was doing one of my reviews or an unboxing or something like that, the light bulb went off when I popped it and I thought, hold on, this looks like something when it's poppered. And I realised Garden Party, and I thought, okay, I'm good with the fact that I've spent £250 on that Rousseau, because I got that for a really good price, versus thousands of pounds for the Garden Party. Okay, Longchamp and Hermes aren't quite comparable in terms of brand value. However, I'm perfectly comfortable with the fact that I have a bag that is similar, offers me as much enjoyment, I'm sure, but as I did say in my previous video, I do have that itch for a Garden Party, and I think as much as I love my Rousseau, I will still need to buy a Garden Party at some point. But the Rousseau is a great alternative. We're down to our final two, and I hope you're still with me. If you are still with me, just put a little handbag emoji down in the comments and let me know what you thought of this list. Next up, we're talking about a little bit of a clutch moment, and we're talking about the Saint Laurent Kate, which is about £12 to £5. This is quite a popular bag, but I think YSL have slightly done themselves over with this because they've got this, but then don't they have the Uptown pouch or the Uptown clutch as well, which is a much lower price point, but offers a very similar look. So I don't feel like they've done themselves all that many favours with the way that they staggered their range. But hey, I don't work at YSL, so that's the main bag there. Then we can talk about the Valentino Vlogo Walk, or Vlogo Walk, for £720. Let me just reiterate that. £720 for Valentino. And it's beautiful. Beautiful. This logo is one of their newer logos. It's been out for a little while, but of course we've seen it on more of the bags, we've seen it on more of the belts. They seem to be moving away from their core rock stud range, although that's a key part of their collection. They seem to be moving away slightly more from that and are integrating further pieces, this being one of them. I don't own a wok. I am more of a clutch person myself, but I know that woks absolutely have their place. I know that there's a practicality element to them. They come with the chains, which a lot of clutches don't. So that's a great option, and that's why it makes it a really good competitor for the Saint Laurent Kate at £400, £500 less. Really good. Next up, and we are jumping back to Louboutin. and we are going to the Louboutin Elisa Baguette. This is really beautiful. This is really simple, it's really elegant. I couldn't find it on the UK site, but it was about 990 euros, which I think equates to about £900. I just thought this was really stunning. I, again, think that Louboutin doesn't get the credit it deserves because it has been shoehorned into being a shoe brand. It isn't. It's an accessories designer, really. Yes, they became very famous for their shoes, and their shoes are beautiful. However, they are starting to, well, they've been significantly expanding, actually. They're not starting to, they've been significantly expanding their range and doing a beautiful job with it. So definitely check this one out. I think it's absolutely stunning. Finally, Alexander Mcqueen. And this is the Alexander Mcqueen skull bag. Now, this came in a range of different colours, different sizes, different price points, but it started at around £540. £540 for an Alexander Mcqueen bag, I think, is exceptional value. And you don't hear about Alexander Mcqueen very much, but I do know that Styled by Gwenny, please check out her channel, she is wonderful. She loves Alexander Mcqueen, it's one of her top brands, and I can see why. They do really stunning pieces. I myself need to buy a little bit more from Alexander Mcqueen because actually it's very much my aesthetic. So I do need to purchase a little bit more and invest a little bit more heavily in it. But they do some beautiful variants of this. I think this is a great alternative, dependent on the variation you go for. I think the Saint Laurent Kate has a slight bit of stiffness to it, it's a formality to it, but you can, a lot of that can just depend on the material that maybe you were to buy something like the Alexander Mcqueen bag in, as to whether or not you thought it would serve you as an evening bag, as a day bag, or if you wanted something that can mix both. I actually think metallics work really well across day and night, but let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you think metallics are a good thing for both day and night? I think they are. And finally, one that's slightly different, not a bag that I would buy, but one that's slightly different, and this is the Prada Femme Bag, which is £2,200. And the alternative that I saw to this was the La Prima Clutch by Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani, stunning, simple, elegant, sophisticated. I've spoken about Giorgio Armani before. I just think they do understated so well, and the quality is exceptional, beautiful, and some of the colours that they bring these items out in are just stunning. I always think that when I was younger, I used to have the perception that Giorgio Armani was a little bit boring. Now I appreciate the simple elegance of it. I just think that in itself speaks so much. And therefore I don't think you need to always have something super shouty. I think you can just let the simplicity speak for itself, and that can work really, really well. This is a beautiful item. I can imagine the quality is exceptional. The Prada is lovely as well. It just isn't a bag that I would personally gravitate towards, but nor is the Giorgio Armani one. However, if you're looking for something that's this similar sort of shape and style, this could be a really good option for you. So there we have it, everyone. Those are my choices of getting that look for less. Let me know what you think of my options. Do you own any of the original bags? Do you own any of the alternatives that I've suggested? As I said, I own a couple of them. I have been hunting down one or two of them, and I'm hoping to be able to buy a couple of them soon. We shall see. Anyway, let me know what you think. Leave that handbag emoji down in the comments, like we said earlier, and I look forward to seeing my next video. Take care, everyone. Bye now. Mwah.